Hello, I'm One of These Days Football and welcome back to our A-League Fantasy series. This is going to be our Game Week 3 selection and also our Game Week 2 review just to see how we can make those changes to improve our team. All I want to say about last week, just before I go into any breakdown, is just why did Charlie Austin have to be the one person that blanked on the team? It just adds insult to injury, really. It's extremely frustrating, but on the other hand, it was good to see almost all the other attacking players get returns in some way, shape, or form. But just, oh my gosh, captaining Austin again, just right through the middle, getting a blank is extremely frustrating. Overall, though, we did have a good game week score with our midfields and forwards getting a strong return. Currently, I'm sitting at 2,846 out of about 3k, so inside the top 3k. I said in my first video that my goal was to finish in the top half for this season because I didn't really know where I would sit, how it would go. Considering the start we have, and because I want to be as ambitious as possible, I'm going to actually adapt that goal. I'm going to look at that goal to be in the top 1,000 players by the end of the season. I think that's achievable if I continue to have strong results and make good decisions. Not that I made the best decisions so far. We'll see what we're going to do, but it's the weakness in this team's currently looking like those two Perth defenders in Reddy and Lackman. So in saying that, we're going to be going into the transfers for Game Week 3 and we're going to be getting rid of those two. So both the Perth boys are out. Coming in is Glover and Aspropotamidis. Look, in week 1, Reddy pulled out a huge penalty save and that probably saved his points a lot. But in game week 2, as again, Perth showed their defensive fragility and they weren't really horrible. But the reason that I'm going to make this change is, 1, they haven't been strong defensively. And 2, these fixtures look really, really difficult defensively. The Mariners with Cummings up front. Adelaide having, I think, already 40 shots over 2 games. Again, one of those was against a Knicks team with a red card, but still 40 shots is a lot. City looking very, very strong, and Brisbane are quite an aggressive team. They've had a lot of shots as well, and I just don't see Perth in any of those next 4 games keeping a clean sheet. So I think it is probably time to let that Perth experiment go. Coming in, I've chosen to go with Glover and Aspropotamidis. The reason we're going with Glover is outside of the next fixture, which is against Victory, I think game week 4, 5, and 6 against the Phoenix, Perth, and Newcastle, I can see Glover keeping those clean sheets and hopefully getting strong returns. Again, that Victory game is very hard to see with that inner city derby. We'll see how that goes. He could get a lot of save points. Nani hasn't been as clinical as he should be, but we'll see how Glover goes. I still think he's got a higher upside than any other keeper over the next 5 games, and that's why I've gone with him. As Propotomidis, well, MacArthur have kept 2 clean sheets already somehow. I don't think they've probably earned those 2 clean sheets, but they've kept them. And from that, sometimes teams can get the ball rolling and start building a rock-solid defense, because it's about getting through those games where even you probably shouldn't be getting through. Furthermore, on top of that, though, is that he is part of the first game of the game week, which means I can use the boost transfer with 45,000 still available to upgrade him in case MacArthur do go horribly wrong. But against Western Sydney, I think Tracy's probably the only threat of scoring. And outside of that, I can actually see Western Sydney not scoring and MacArthur keeping a clean sheet. But if he doesn't, I'm thinking about using that boost transfer to get that upgrade on points, especially with so much left in the bank. Alright, from that, we will go on to our team selection, our squad selection, as I've named it here. Oops. Oh well. Glover and Jameson in the back. I'm not expecting a clean sheet this week, but a strong showing from Glover would probably be what I would think would happen. I think he'll have a few chances to save some shots. Jamison did have a really strong performance last week with those 10 points. And I think, that's all I can ask for. That's probably more than I can ask for. I think those two, probably this week's the hardest week. Then the next 3 weeks beyond that, they have the best 3 fixtures defensively. And I can see those two making a strong partnership over the next 4 game weeks or so. Hingett's going to retain his spot over Warland, and that is simply because I think Brisbane have a higher chance of keeping a clean sheet against the Wanderers compared to Adelaide, who seemingly haven't worked all the kinks out in their team yet, and they're up against Sydney. Sydney have they scored 3 goals last game week, and I just don't think Wallen's going to keep a clean sheet. I think Hinga's got a larger chance of keeping a clean sheet, and that's why he gets the nod this week. Aspero Potamidis, I've already stated, I'm thinking that MacArthur can keep that clean sheet, but if they can't, then I might use that boost transfer with a lot of capital left in the bank to upgrade to someone who might have a higher chance of doing so. In the midfield, Troisi, I think, is probably Western United's best chance of scoring a goal. So for only 289,000, that seems like a pretty good deal to me, especially as a midfielder where you get bonus points for scoring those goals over forwards. I think that sounds like a really strong pick, and MacArthur, like I have said, haven't really earned those 2 clean sheets as much as I think they've just come about. I don't think they've been that defensively strong. So I think if there is going to be a Western United goal, it is going to be Troisi. Ballard and Nani looking like a strong little combo in the middle. Ballard got that assist last game week, obviously. That's really, really good for under 200k. Like, that's a really strong performance. Nani really should have had a goal. Probably hit the inside of the post from that low shot. Could have boosted my points even higher. But I think this has been a strong pickup, and I'll keep him going. Again, he's in that derby, so he does have some conflict with Jamieson and Glover, but that does happen a lot in the A-League where there are fewer teams and we are going to come up against each other a lot more often. But I still think that Victory have a big outlet through Nani, and he might be a strong way of going forward. Goodwin, I'm going to captain this week because he does continue to produce a lot of shots and a lot of goal-scoring opportunities for Adelaide. Sydney, whilst they did win, have looked vulnerable at the back, and I think that Adelaide will have a lot of chances to open them up. I believe that Adelaide are going to score, and I think if you believe that Adelaide are going to score in a given game week, you should captain Craig Goodwin because he's probably going to be involved in that. The front 3 obviously performing really, really well, except for my talismanic captain who is yet to score any bloody points, but Arzani and Cummings coming through really strongly for us last game week. Now, again, Western United don't look good, so I think Arzani is in the box seat to get some points. If you don't have him, I think he'd be a strong recommendation to bring him in this game week, although you already have missed out on the 19 points last game week. Cummings, I think, is a no-brainer. I think he's that obvious outlet for the Mariners, and you've just got to go with him. We are going to continue to back Charlie Austin in, though. He has had chances to score, and I think it's just a matter of time before he does so. I think I want to be on the boat that has him rather than the boat that doesn't, because I think once he starts scoring, the ball will start rolling. He's also on those penalties, which offers us a lot of advantages over other players within that Brisbane team. Yeah, so that's our team for this game week 3. Let's see how we go. Obviously, we've got Warland and Elliott on the bench. Elliott might play, we're not really sure. Warland, I just don't see Adelaide giving a clean sheet against Sydney. And Alagic is just there again because he's the cheapest midfielder who does play in case we need someone if someone gets injured along those lines. Anyway, I'll see you guys next week for my roundup for Game Week 3 and going into Game Week 4. New goal of reaching the top 1,000 players is obviously in effect. If you think there's anything that I could do next week or anything that I'm not reading into quite as well, please leave a comment down below. I am making this series to learn and watch the A-League more, hopefully making better fantasy decisions because of that. But if I'm not, let me know. Anyway, have a great week. I'll see you guys next week.